Yeah, my background is I'm the founder of the biggest nationwide advertising group in Britain. It's called The Mission. It's got 1,200 staff, 20 offices, and it's throughout the UK. And I did an IPO on that, and I was 100% shareholder on the IP at the point of the IPO, which is quite rare. And before that, I worked at Procter Gamble marketing and started at Britvic and Cousins and all on the client side, and then agency side. Started an agency in '85 with a mate, and we sold that to Cordium, which used to be called Saatchi's, in '99. I'm also one of the three founders of a company called InsureandGo, which is we think it's probably the biggest specialist travel insurance company in Europe. And that was sold as well. So that's background, all marketing really, but and running businesses. Very interested in how you run a business, and that's potentially another talk. But what this one, I did a little poll and asked people what they wanted to know about, and the view was marketing strategy, marketing execution. What have I learned about marketing? What little pearls of wisdom can I pass on? And I've written down 12, actually. I said I was going to do 10, but I've got 12 in total. And I will zip through them. Now, number one, marketing is hard work and about process. Of course, there's scope for creativity and inspiration, but you ain't going to get anywhere unless you put an awful lot of effort into it. And what you have to do is seize every imaginable opportunity to communicate to existing and potential customers, and to do that over and over again. The percentage response rate on anything is minuscule. If you send somebody an email, be pleased you get 1% responses. So you have to hit people over and over again. And that's about follow through. And follow through comes in lots of different flavors. Now, if you are about online marketing, then what really matters is remarketing. Now, some of you will have heard of that, some of you won't. So for those that haven't, remarketing is where the social media companies record that somebody's shown interest in something. Maybe they just dwelt on your ad. Maybe they just dwelt on something you raised. But that can be enough for them to sit and say, oh, this one's interested. Then you hit them with advertising and messages to try and get them to move from a lukewarm lead into something of substance, something you can work with. But you can't ever expect somebody to respond to one or two messages. They have to get them very frequently. So email sequencing, once you've got somebody's email, again, one email ain't going to work. In fact, people, so long as you're not, spam, definition of spam is where you talk to somebody about something they have zero interest in, and you weren't invited in the first place. When you've got somebody's email, they obviously are interested. So tell them at least weekly about what you're up to, something that you think they will be interested in. You don't have to make it too silly, but if you don't regularly communicate with your target audience, you will not get sales. Number three, your website. Now, this might sound a bit brutal, but I'm afraid the only page that matters is the first one. And I'm afraid generally that doesn't really matter much at all. People usually don't buy from websites. What they do is unless that's how the mechanics to purchase. Usually it's a whole barrage of different things, messages that get through to them. So don't spend phenomenal amounts of time producing the most beautiful websites. Beautiful websites don't usually work. It's the hard-hitting ones that get somebody across the line that have a close. Everything must have a close. Personalization, absolutely crucial. Everything you send, wherever possible, must be personalized to the target audience, to the individual. And when you personalize, ideas help communicate, comments, opportunities, advice, anecdotes, so that you are top of mind. Most businesses, number five, and I've talked about this before, most businesses put far too much effort into finding new customers and don't provide additional services to their existing ones. Almost anything you can sell can have an add-on or upgrade. See the initial sale as covering costs and the add-on or upgrade as your opportunity for profit. Testimonials. Testimonials create trust. There was somebody who was talking about their social media advertising. One of the most powerful things you can do is a very, very, very short message that says, I'm using it. For example, Streetify saved me £30 on an umbrella. You've got them. What else does it save money on? I mean, testimonials from customers in your website, anywhere you use a testimonial is better than a message from you. It's more powerful. Moving on then to number 7, paid Google Ads and Facebook. They're the main opportunity for most products. LinkedIn is expensive. I mean, sometimes it makes sense, you know, if you have a very specific narrow audience that LinkedIn links to, but Google Ads and Facebook are your main opportunity. And using them, I'm afraid, is complicated. So you are going to need somebody to explain that to you. You need an economical, experienced, appropriate agency to guide you through that process, to help you make it work, unless you really know your stuff yourself. Number 8, well, having just said, get an agency, don't abdicate to an agency. They love arty stuff, not so much effective campaigns. A clever, funny copy line, which is what you're likely to get out of an agency, is rarely as effective as a blunt statement of your key message, your key benefit. Number 9, test over and over again. Never be satisfied. I mean, I've done social media for, you know, since it started, and I run so many advertising campaigns from lots of other companies, and I have a bit of a feel for it. And yet, for Streetify, my new business, I ran 93 different copy lines to find the copy line that I use. Nobody really knows what's going to work until it's tested. And the wonderful thing with social media is that you can test anything and everything for about 20, 30, 40 quid. So you can test vast numbers of things to get the line. And the line almost certainly will be the benefit, your key benefit to your target audience. That almost always will be the winner. Streetify's copy line, for example, the winner by a country mile is literally the cheapest way to shop. Very short. That's all you need to say. No more waffle. All on the benefit. Number 10 is constantly learn how to do it better. Actually, I don't need to say this to you because you're here, so you're interested in listening to other people's ideas and thoughts and suggestions. A lot of people aren't. A lot of people are very fixed on how they approach things. And the answer is to learn about all the things that matter in your business. And it's not just about marketing. It's about, you know, hiring people, motivating people, you know, persuading, fundraising, etc., etc. Buy the books, learn about it, get better at it with time, never stop. I'm 67. I'm still reading books on marketing and advertising and social media and all sorts of stuff. Number 11 is one that I added the other day because someone called Melinda Mulcahy, is that right, Ollie? Yes. She was talking about curiosity, and that curiosity is behind the questions that cause knowledge, improvement, and action. Google her, find out what she talks about, and get the information. Going back to number 10, constantly learn. I found something really interesting there, really helpful. Finally, number 12, and this is quarter an hour through, so that gives us a bit of time for discussion. Finally, my main learning from 40 years of dealing with marketing is that people are lazy, coin-operated sheep. You'll be amazed how much effort they will put into not doing something. You can make the most outrageous offer, and you think only a fool won't take this up. 1%. So lazy, coin-operated. Now that is the one where you say, right, here's some cash if you do this. That's when you might get 1.5% to sit up. It will always, everything is always tiny percentages. Don't delude yourself that 20, 30, 50% of people are going to do something. They just won't. I ran an offer on Belling cookers years ago, and it was £50 off your shopping. Just send us your receipt. 4%. Ha! You think, how stupid are people? That's 50 quid. Anyway, so lazy, coin operated, and sheep. Sheep comes in two flavors. It's amazing how celebrity has taken over, isn't it? You put a celebrity on any kind of ad, put it anywhere, and people will kind of follow it and do it. They also want to do what they think everybody else is doing, and that relates to that. But if you say you're big and successful, and you give that impression, then people will follow you. And if you don't give that impression, you don't give the impression that loads of other people are doing the same, then they won't. And you need to think about anything is indicative of everything. So, for example, every single opportunity is an opportunity to sell. I mean, I don't know, I'm not going to name names here, but have a look at what your background is right now, for example, on here. Is it selling? Is it persuasive? Is it relevant? I've got books behind me. I want to seem like I'm a sort of a bit of a bookworm and kind of read lots of stuff, so I'm sharing some knowledge based on information I've gathered. I've thought about it. If you're, have a think about your background and say, is that giving a good message? I know this, you could say, well, this doesn't really matter. It's a bunch of mates chatting through, but there's a mindset that goes with that. Do everything to an outstanding level. And you don't know what's going to work, but people will see consistently a commitment to very high standards. Right. Okay, that's what I've done. I had 70 thoughts that I would put into that list. This is just 12 that I've boiled down to, in fact, 10 marketing ideas. I hope they're helpful. Hopefully write them down, go through and find, if you just find one or two that you think, well, I can action that, I can do something with that, then I've done my job.
Right, that was fabulous. I've got some questions, but I'm going to put it out to the room first. Any questions for Martin? Paul.
Hi, Martin. Gold nuggets for sure. Thank you for sharing those. My question is about the mission group, because I might actually be working with them. Just sort of wanted to get a sense from you about trends in advertising and marketing and things like that. Sort of any generic sort of trends that you can see at the moment.
Well, I mean, the obvious boring one is AI. It does seem to me that is so many industries are fashion based, aren't they? AI is the current sexy word. I don't know what will be next. There's always one, isn't there? I think it's a little bit dangerous because it's starting to get hacked. People are sat there saying, well, everybody and anything is AI, isn't it? Use it by all means, but I don't think make a big deal about it. Big trends. Other than that, no, social media is the trend, but that's already up and running and happening, isn't it? So for me, what about you? What do you think, Paul? Is there anything big that you think is happening now?
For sure, AI is important. A lot of I guess companies that I'm speaking to would definitely benefit from a lot of what you've sort of talked through. And I think it's maybe not a trend as much as a common occurrence. Something that I'm seeing is that they haven't necessarily implemented email sequencing. So I've got sort of a plan. In fact, some of you lucky people on here might be receiving some emails from Koala. I just sort of thought that might be something that it's something that people definitely should sort of get involved with. And just wondering if there's any more on that.
Yes, it's not a new thing, but it's ever so important. There are two big companies that do it. There's Mailjet and Mailchimp. Mailjet's smaller, it's cheaper, and it does basically the same thing. I really don't see any point using Mailchimp. If you can save some money, use Mailjet. The more you do, the better you'll get at it. really quite enjoyable coming up with more things. But we can do, the great thing is you can start a sequence with a new customer. They get every week, they get an email that is appropriate for their stage of the journey. As opposed to the usual thing which people do is every week they come out with some new message. Well, for example, on Streetify, when I get a new user, right at the very beginning, I want them to do some things. I want them to upgrade. I talked about upgrade. I want them, if they've downloaded my app, I would like them to download the extension onto their computer, for example. That's a message that should be happening fairly early on. So, and then separately, you can run, something that is appropriate and current and relevant, perhaps every week. So then you might find you've got a sequenced email going out midweek, and then at the end of each week, you put in something that is relevant to that week. See what I mean?
Thanks, Paul. Tom.
Martin, thank you so much. I was listening very intently. The question I'd like to ask you, I'd like to contrast two things you said at either end of your piece. You said earlier on about, fancy websites don't matter. And I know what you meant, and I agree with you in some senses. At the end, you then said about the importance of something as simple as what your background says about you. Both of those things are representations of brand. And you said one wasn't very important and one was very important. So could I ask you to clarify, what's your view on the importance of brand?
Right. Well, you have to start with what is a brand, and a brand is, as you're alluding, absolutely everything. There is no message that should go out that is not on your brand. And that includes, when I said background, sorry, I didn't mean your history. I meant the background to the image that you have right here. And I'm picking on that because it's very visible right now. And most of us haven't bothered. In fact, I will admit that I make the rules as well, because quite often you'll see me sat in my kitchen with a coffee. So, hey, wrong. I mean, I used to do this all the time, sit in front of a whole load of books and stuff. I don't think it's the best background, but the important thing is a brand is everywhere in anything that you do. And think about it. What message do you want to do? So, for example, banks, you always used to sit there and go, look, trust us. So they have fantastic buildings. And they've changed their minds. They've decided on something else now. But it used to be, trust us. We've got a big building in the corner of the high street. We must be a safe place for you to put your money. And of course, subsequently discovered that it's not, it doesn't really matter. So brand, yeah, brand is the start point for everything that you do. But don't get obsessed with it too much, because that isn't going to get you any sales itself. It gives you the personality behind the messages that get a close, but it's just behind. And so that's why I was talking about websites. I mean, I was probably over-egging it a bit. I mean, don't produce an ugly website deliberately. I mean, why on earth would you do that? And it might be off-brand as well. But pretty brand, it's a fact that pretty websites usually don't sell much. It's the hard-hitting ones that get somebody across the line. And usually, actually, with most things, it's not a website that's going to do that on its own anyway, by any means. It's a whole load of other stuff, a whole load of connections that will get somebody to buy your thing.
Super duper. So what I'm hearing, the clarification I'm hearing is brand is important, but it may not be important in the way that we think it is, and that we're probably better off attending to brand in the very many different ways in which it pops up along our customer journey than we are worrying about the big set piece things that we possibly overvalue ourselves.
Absolutely.
I think I would agree with you 100%. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great question, Tom. Any other questions for Martin's? Andrew.
Hello, Martin. Thanks for that. I've got a less conventional question for you. Given your experience and obviously interest in business, have you got any role models? Are there any entrepreneurs out there that you followed for many years that you admire, and why is that?
No. And the reason is that I take interest in lots and lots and lots of different people. And there's no single individual that I would sit there and go, that is the overarching source of wise words that I'm going to implement. I will cherry pick from all over the place to try and get to a better place constantly. So no particular individual, no. No, not really. No, nobody. How about you? Have you got anybody?
Well, I had another question on the back of that, which you started alluding to. So where and what sources are you reading that information from then?
A lot of it's social media, actually. I mean, I've got lots of autobiographies and biographies and stuff that I flick through. I'll tell you something I do, which is a bit radical. I contact famous people and say, "How do you fancy lunch?" And you'd be amazed at who I've had lunch with. Quite extraordinary. And it's quite interesting. They take it as such a compliment when you ring them up. Nobody else is doing it anyway. Now you lot are, so I've got competition. No, it's extraordinary how people will take a bit of time out from their day and go and have lunch with you. And if you spot somebody that you think is interesting, then ask. I have lunch coming up with Harry, actually, by the way, in London in July, because I thought, now that's an interesting man. He's got a big background. He knows a lot of people, etc. I don't know where it's going. And I'm not sat there saying, look, I'm going to grab information from you or anything like that. That's not the plan. I want to share as much as get, or just at the very least have an interesting lunch with somebody who's achieved a lot, and he has, hasn't he? So yeah, there we go. That's one of my sources.
One of my heroes is Felix Dennis. I think Felix Dennis is wonderful. It's someone who Paul knows a lot about. So I think it's a good question, Andrew, because you tend to look up and look out for people, and they can often offer inspiration, and and almost like that's why I did that, or an idea about something. So I think it is important to have those. But I love that idea, Martin, about arranging lunch with famous people. That's fantastic, and it demonstrates a lot of characteristics with good founders. Always willing to ask that question. Ask for the order. A lot of founders don't. They spend too much time, which leads me to my question. You said about using blunt messaging. How blunt?
Well, when I say blunt, I say straight to the point. I mean, it's quite good to provoke in advertising, in any communication, because then people will remember what you said. However, as I said, the most important thing with your main message, be that social media, be it billboard, whatever it may be, the main thing is, of course, to tell people you meet this want, not need, want. I will meet your want. You want that, I've got it. Come and get it. It's all about the benefit. And if you can do it in a single, very short sentence, and actually better if the first word of your sentence is your brand name. How many ads do you see, poster ads, etc.? How do you see whether you've got a clever, interesting, funny copy line, and then you've got the brand name very small down the bottom right-hand corner? I mean, that's the sort of thing ad agency types, some of them really love. It'll win awards, etc. Won't sell much. Hey, the brand manager or marketing director will probably have moved on in 18 months. The most important thing is he impresses his boss. They're happy. It doesn't work. Brand name first. Benefit is what the ad should be focused on. That's what works. as you can tell, this is my P&G. I started my career in Procter Gamble, and what they would do is they would show you ads, loads and loads of ads, and you had to guess at the recall percentage for the key benefit for that product the next day, and they knew the numbers. And they would show you ad after ad after ad, and at the end of seeing 100 ads, you concluded exactly what I just told you. So there we go. I saved you working for Procter Gamble. It's easy. Just do that.
Thanks, Martin. Well, I was going to say, any final questions whilst we got Martin with us this morning? Because you've offered to come back and do some more talks, Martin, which we would welcome, particularly around making money and making the best and most appropriate hires for your business. I think they're meaty topics that I would like to get involved with. Neil.
Thanks, Martin. A great talk, and thanks for your time earlier in the week as well. Really straightforward question. You said about testing a copy line, and it costs like £20 or £30. What process? How do you do that?
Facebook. It doesn't matter if you're not going to do the ads going forward on Facebook. Mm-hmm. It's just a very, very cheap way of comparing ad lines. So 20 or 30 quid will do it. And then you sit there and find out how much it costs for somebody to click on your message. And if it's cheaper and there's more doing it per pound, per dollar, whatever it may be, then you've got an ad line that's working. And then you're trying to beat that. You take the best of the ones you've done so far, and then you try to beat that one. It's a cheap, crafty way to be confident that you've got the best possible line.
And just following up on that, because I guess Facebook and etc. are known for clickbait, and people generally follow negativity over positivity. Or what are your thoughts? I mean, in your experience, do sensational or positive copy lines work better?
Because I think you'll probably find that the best line will be where you talk about your benefit. Well, that's going to be positive anyway, as opposed to most the ads that sit there and talk about, you know, the problem that you have. I find we have a solution for your problem is more positive than you're a bit screwed because this, that, and the other. How, you know, that's based on doing my Facebook thing. You know, that I've tried so many different ways to lines. That's what I have discovered. But it doesn't matter. You can try. The great thing about 20 or 30 quid is you can try anything. Just try loads of them, and then you get at the end of it all, you can be really confident you've got the right line.
Thank you.